These are the notes for Algebra 1B, Section 1.1. We're going to go over the first 5 vocabulary terms in your notes packet. Sorry, excuse me. And write them in your own words. I'm not even going to write the exact definition because I want you to be able to put it in your words that make sense to you, and I'm not going to quiz you over the exact definition. You just need to know what these words mean. So, an equation is a statement where 2 expressions are equal. So that's saying something on the left side of an equal sign equals whatever's on the right, okay? So, it's just some kind of statement where that has, statement that has 2 expressions equal to one another. And I use the term expressions because sometimes those have X in them. So, a linear equation in one variable is an equation that can be written in the form ax plus b equals 0, or any kind of line you could draw from an equation that has just one variable. So not like the y equals mx plus b. We're talking where it could just have a y in it or just an x in it. So I would just put, it's an equation with one variable. Okay, it means there's an equal sign, stuff's on both sides, and there's only one variable. Now I can have 2 x's, but those x's can be combined when you combine like terms. So a solution is a solution of the equation. It's just a value that makes the equation true. So it is a value, that makes an equation true. Okay. An inverse operation is an operation like adding, subtracting, multiplying, dividing that you do to undo something else. Okay? It is, I'm just going to put, it's either like add, subtract, I'm abbreviating, multiply. Now there's other inverse operations, but for this purpose, divide. This is what we're going to be doing right now, and I'm going to put etc. that undoes. Oops, I cannot write. Ooh. Undoes something else. Okay. So if I have like an x plus 2 on one side and I want that x by itself, well, I have a plus 2, so I want to get rid of it. I want to undo that 2. I'm going to subtract. That's its inverse operation. And equivalent equations are just equations that have the same solution. It means like they can be written looking totally different, but if you simplify it down, x is going to equal the same thing. So it's equations with the same solution. Okay. Okay, on the next page, I wanted you to do the exploration. So I want you to do this on your own. You will be turning your notes in at the end of the chapter, and these explorations do need to be complete. So if you have questions on them, you can ask me in class, and I would be happy to help. So if you go past those, go past these problems down below are the ones I'm going to go over with you for your notes. So this is all for 1-1. These are one-step equations. So in number 1, I want to get t all by itself, and it has t plus 4. So I need to do the inverse operation to that plus 4. Well, it's adding, and the opposite of adding is subtracting, so I'm going to actually subtract 4 from both sides. If I do it to one side, I have to do it to the other. And then these 4's cancel out, so on this side I'm left with a t, and 6 minus 4 is 2. Okay? In number 2, here's what I'm trying to get by itself. I'm trying to get m all by itself. So it is m minus 7. The inverse operation of minus 7 is add 7. So I do it to both sides. And I get 20 equals m. Okay? And I do like to see your answers where the variable is first, but you're not wrong if you write it like this. I just prefer it like that personally. Number 3 has n minus a 3/8, and I want that n by itself, so the opposite of subtraction is addition. So if I add 3/8 to both sides, and I'm going to add the 1 and write it up here just because it makes it easier. These ones cancel, so I'm left with n. And because these have the same denominator, I can just add the numbers on top. 1 plus 3 is 4, and it's over that denominator, 8. Okay? And this does simplify. 4 goes into both terms, so if I divide both terms by 4, I end up getting a 1 over, 1 over 2. Okay, so n in this case equals 1/2. In number 4, it's w plus 9.3, so I'm going to subtract 9.3 from both sides. So on the left side, I get a negative 2.3. And then these canceled, so I'm left with w. So w equals a negative 2.3. All right, you do 5 and 6 on your own. They need to be done when you do turn in the packet. Those are just adding or subtracting. Okay, number 7, now n is not adding or subtracting. It is an n divided by 2. And to undo a division, the opposite of division is multiplication. So that is the inverse operation here. I'm going to multiply by 2. If I do it to that side, I must also do it to this side. So the 2's cancel, and I'm left with an n. 2 times negative 5 is negative 10. Okay, number 8, negative 4 is multiplying x. The opposite or inverse operation is of multiplication is dividing. So I'm going to divide by negative 4. Negatives 4 cancel. I'm left with x. Negative 40 divided by a negative 4 is 10. Number 9. Again, 9 is multiplying. So to undo it, I have to divide. So I'm going to get m because the 9's cancel. And I have a 6 over 9. Now 3 goes into both of those terms. So I need to divide both terms by 3. And I get 2/3. So m equals 2/3. Okay, number 10. Now I have 2/3 in front of my r. So that doesn't look like it's multiplying or dividing when actually it's doing both. This fraction is multiplying that r by 2 while also dividing it by 3. So, or you can also think of it as 2/3 times r. And so to get rid of it, we divide. And we've talked about we do not like dividing by a fraction. So if I flip this fraction and get, 3/2, they cancel out. Because if I am multiplying by 2, putting that 2 on the bottom of this new fraction is dividing. So they cancel each other out. Now if 3 is taking r divided by 3 and the opposite of that is multiplying, those cancel out. So I'm left with r. Now I have a 16 times 3 plus 2. So you should get r is 50. Okay? So anytime you have a fraction multiplying, just flip it. So if you go over to number 12, I know I'm going to come back to 11 here in just a second, but if you go over number 12, it's the same thing. This is the same thing as saying 3/4 times r. So flip it. 4 over 3 and then multiply. 4 over 3 and multiply. Okay, so if I multiply this side, I have a 4 times 1 is 4. And on bottom, I have a 3 times 8 is 24. And that does simplify. So R is going to end up equaling, 4 goes into both of those. 4 divided by 4 is 1. 24 divided by 4 is 6. Okay, come back to number 11. This time I have a negative t over 2. Well, the t is being divided by 2. Okay, but let's leave that negative down here with the 2. Okay, it can be either place. It's just saying the fraction is negative. I'm going to move this and make this a positive t, but make this a negative 2. They're still the same thing. So to get t by itself, I'm going to multiply by that negative 2. So these cancel, and over here now I'm left with the positive t, and I have a 12 times a negative 2 is a negative 24. Okay? That's how you would do these in one step. So now you can do the practice for 1.1.